shirt on.
Yep. Hey guys, welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great Monday night. I have not had Brandon Dent from Woodward Sports on, I think, since the big roundtable we had.
Yeah, man, it's been some time, and you know what? The round table was dope. And Pistons Talk, just in general, your platform, your socials, how you keep so many different people engaged and collaborative on your platform, bro. Continue to do what you do because you know that you're one of those leaders in this space.
Hey man, I try to be. Never thought I would be the leader in the space. I just, had a hobby turned into a full-time job. So I'm grateful for that. I mean, 5 years running, like during COVID,
Wow.
I didn't really know like what I wanted to do. Got let go for a job. I was like, might as well just go on YouTube and try to make money at the time. And then
Might
they
as
decide
well.
they decided to change their monetization like settings like 1 month into like before like you could like make a video and you didn't have a requirement. And then they changed it to 1,000 subscribers. I was like, damn.
I get it now. I get it,
Yeah.
especially understanding my own journey in this space. I'm just like, goodness gracious. And, hey, just talking about my own journey before we get into the Pistons of it all, which is still the Pistons of it all. It started with this guy here, too, to a degree. Obviously, Detroit Kool-Aid has been around for some time. Up before Woodward Sports, I think one of the pinnacles was, you remember those Pistons brackets that Detroit Bad Boys used to run? Shout out to Sean Corp and such. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I took down Rod Beard in the Final Four, man. And it was
Wow.
pretty dope. And then about a year later, after that, Woodward Sports started. And the first Piston shows we did was featuring you, King, Everything King. Shout out to Easy and myself, bro. And it was dope. And then we also had the draft coverage featuring also Detroit Drew, you, myself. We have Rashad Phillips on, Vince Ellis on, Rod Beard, Ku Cahill. When I think back to that first show, to that lineup, to that draft coverage, it's like, yo, think about what started from there, bro. Shout out to the legendary banner that was also in that show, too.
Yeah, I don't see the teddy bear. So, I mean,
Lucky. That's what's missing. I thought something was off in my universe, and Pistons Talk just solved it for me.
yeah, I remember the lucky teddy bear for sure. Uh, I do remember I didn't think we were going to get the first pick. I was like, maybe they'll give us two or three. And then we get first and we get to draft Cade. That was wild, man.
We lost it,
Um,
dog. Pistons
yeah,
like reshared our reaction and everything.
okay, young OG. If it's gonna be one of these type of podcasts, man, I can't have you wilding like that. Magic City Monday. My mind went to the bubble and Lou Williams and getting those wings like right away. That's where my head went right away. Um, I actually found over 6 topics for us to talk about. Yeah, I mean, he knows how my head goes. Like I already know. Like a lot of you guys you guys know how to get my immature side out. If you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate you guys. But man, one of the first topics I did want to ask you is schedule just came out. Um, I get so excited. It feels like Christmas Day every time there is a schedule out. I don't know
Yes,
if you've
sir.
had a chance to kind of go into it in depth or look at it, more than once. But after looking at it, oh, here we go. How many games do you think the Pistons could win this season?
Ooh. I'm one of those guys who believes that Kay Cunningham is going to take that leap. I believe that the Pistons off season, though I would say, hey, you know what? I would have liked them to do more. I think this is dependent on the type of leap Kay Cunningham can take. And I think he can take the type of leap to have the Pistons in the conversation. I'm not saying doing it, but in the conversation of being a 50-win team. I really do. I'm not saying that the East is something that's completely wide open, but I do believe that the East is something that is a lot more competitively attainable for Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons. And I don't believe that they're going to take that much of a dip from shooting. I believe that instead of being as centralized on a very heavy volume shooter, I believe that they're going to be a lot more balanced as it relates to their outside shooting now. It's going to help them. I really do. But I think they're going to be in a conversation for that 50.
So I saw the under over a few weeks ago, and it was up 45.5, and they won 44 games. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, they could have won 50 games last season. Like, there are a lot of games that were, turnovers, went down to the wire.
You think
Uh,
Cade Cunningham just sitting out?
yeah, there's a couple of games that he sat out. I'm looking at the schedule. Yeah.
No Ivy?
Yeah. Noah Sard to start the season. Like, I'm looking at this schedule. I'm looking at this team, and I'm like, it's probably a 50-win basketball team. And a lot of people are like,
fired up.
They're like, yeah, like I don't see it. I think we're worse. I think Atlanta's going to leap us. I'm like, I just don't see it. I don't trust Atlanta. Like, you have to prove it to me that you're better than Detroit. I think Orlando, a lot of people, when they hear Orlando, they kind of roll their eyes. But I think some Pistons fans, maybe they forget when they were healthy, really early on of the season, they were like top 3, top 4. I think adding Desmond Bane, trading him in for KCP is a huge upgrade in itself.
Yep.
I think Orlando's going to be a very good team, depending if they can stay healthy. If they're not healthy,
100.
they're probably a play-in team at the best. But I think this is a 50-win basketball team. I think the changes they made, I think some people look at this team on paper, and it's not Malik Beasley, it's not Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder. And I think some people, they don't like change, and I get it. I think Duncan Robinson is that motion shooter that Malik Beasley is. Is he going to hit 300 threes? I don't know. He's hit 200 plus threes multiple times in his career. It seems like every time we sign free agents, they have like their best year of their careers. I can't explain it. Like Blake Griffin getting traded had his best year of his career. Malik Beasley had a resurgence, has a franchise record with 3-pointers made with the Detroit Pistons, second behind Anthony Edwards last year. I like Karis LeVert. I think he's going to be very versatile. I honestly think he's probably going to be one of the most important Pistons on this roster, not named Cade Cunningham personally, because I think the role that he's going to have, he's going to just be one of those versatile.
Explain this. I want to hear it.
Yeah, he's going to be so versatile, and I think who's going to benefit the most with Karis LeVert is Jaden Ivey, because Karis LeVert to me is the perfect type of toolsy wing type of player that you want to pair next to an off-guard player like a Jaden Ivey. So I really think him being healthy is going to be very important. But I'm thinking 50 wins, man. I'm like you.
I see what you mean here too. Like those odd pairings where they used to have like Ivy and Beasley or Ivy and Sasser. Think about what that looks like with Ivy and Karis LeVert. Somebody who can get his buckets at the rim, in the mid-range, or from behind the arc, and can defend as well. Like obviously with Karis LeVert, you're just talking about health, but because of the type of workload he will or won't have, they can manage that type of stuff. I would hope that they start the season lighter than they end the season with them. Let them get ramped up maybe after about a couple months, because I do believe they have that type of depth there. And you probably want to get a good look at a guy like a Marcus Sasser. I know that there's a difference as it relates to the physicality and the size, and that's something that Trajan Langdon remarked on, that at that position, they're a bigger team than they were. The players they replaced, were smaller. The guys are bringing in, they're going to be able to defend basically a multitude of positions. And so I do believe that they got more versatile, both defensively and more balanced offensively. And I think that the guys they have, they're going to still bring that same try-hard approach that we did see from guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. And, for about the first 3 quarters of the season, you saw Malik Beasley, especially to start it, diving on the floor and things of that nature, and really trying to lead that charge. I do believe that they got enough in Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert, as well as you still got Uncle Tobias here.
Yeah.
They got enough in the vet department to, I think, which is the most important thing you're going to hear me continue to harp on, adequately support Cade Cunningham. We're not talking about a guy who's the best player on the team. We've had those years, right? And those guys maybe are all-stars, maybe are not. Hi, I'm Jay Drummond. I still like you. But let's be real. We got a guy who we now see popping up as who are the top 5 American, MVPs of the future. Cade Cunningham is popping up in these things. Shout out ESPN. This guy has a chance to be a superstar, and he wants to be that. And so that's why I continue to go back to, I think that this team is one that's ready-made to mesh with the type of player that Cade Cunningham is. A lot of downhill action. These guys are able to relocate and shoot. These guys are able to pick and pop. They're able to do things that he was able to do with Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley. What's that? The pick and roll with those guys. I loved it when Tim Hardaway would be the guy sometimes to come up and set the pick, because then you see the defense really not know how to react. Sometimes guarding the wings, they're not used to guarding a roller. So all of a sudden you got Cade Cunningham, who's already an elite playmaker, an elite facilitator, an elite scorer at least two of those levels, and good at the third level. And then you're also having a guy who can pick and pop or cut. Like, now you're running these sets with Duncan Robinson. Are you kidding me? You're leaving Duncan Robinson open because you got a double team Cade? Oh, yeah. No. You're stepping off of Jalen Duren for the backside hope. It's good problems that they got right now. And I think they do become more balanced of a team. They have a few more shooters to depend on.
I also think that they'll have multiple ball handlers too. You're not going to have
that too. Yep.
Cade Cunningham, bring the ball up the court every time. We've seen Point-of-Sar. That was kind of like an experiment that I loved last year because teams just did not know how to defend with his quickness, his strength, and his burst. He's just a blur to stay in front of. I think Karis LeVert can kind of have that same effect where, you can just give him some on-ball reps and you can have, Jaden Ivey curling off his screen. I think Duncan Robinson is a shooter. I think a lot of people know that he is, but I think the one thing that I'm really interested in is how is his chemistry going to be with Jalen Duren? Can he make Jalen Duren a better passer out of dribble handoff situations like he did with Bam Adebayo? Like, I've been talking about that this summer. Like, Duncan Robinson is coming in. Yeah, he's coming in as a vet. Like, he's the similar age to Tobias Harris. Like, I think Duncan Robinson could really help a lot of the bigs with their passing, with dribble handoffs, screen setting, where he likes the ball. Like, I know a lot of people are just looking at this team on paper and they don't think it's as good. I saw a team last year without their second leading scorer be in each and every game. And that's because of JB Bickerstaff and the believability with, all these players on this team buying into the message.
Bro, you know what? And I love exactly what you're saying about Jalen Duren. To kind of tie that together, we saw improvements in his game this year, even defensively as a rim protector, paint protector. You still want greater improvement as he continues to grow as a player. But you heard these guys talk about the messages that they got from JB Bickerstaff, the buy-in, and how easy it was, and how he made the information that much more easy to understand for him. And that to me is like, we got a coach's coach. I remember the first press conference. Rod Beard, shout out Rod Beard, formerly of the Detroit News, now down at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, senior sports editor. We went there because we had the pod the next day. So he was like, you know what, bro? I'm going to go down there. And then he was like, you know what? I'm staying for all of it, bro, for the scrum, for all of it. He's like, bro, he's electric. He's a coach's coach. It wasn't like he was there to try and win anything. He was just there literally just, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. Y'all know who I am. Y'all saw me do it over there. If this message is too hard for you, kick rocks. That's when I began to realize what happened in Cleveland when he was there wasn't necessarily a JB Bickerstaff thing. It might have been people who couldn't necessarily get with his style. But you got Jalen Duren stepping to the podium saying, what? You know what? I got to be real with y'all. I was on some soft-ish. What young player steps to a podium and does that? Right. Like, you know what I mean? But he stepped to the podium and did that. And he talked about the fact that, you know what? Yeah, we talk about this stuff in the locker room. We trust JB Bickerstaff. I can see JB Bickerstaff probably telling people in that Cleveland locker room stuff. And Ty Jerome's probably not a Piston because he couldn't handle that type of stuff. Shout out Cleveland. I remember there was Ty Jerome could potentially be a Piston. Nah. When you look at Jalen Duren, you look at some of these players here, I think that they're able to buy into what JB Bickerstaff is saying because of some of the losing that they had prior, but also how real he's been able to deliver it. These guys are now starting to get success. And this thing is going to be built on those young players. I've said this from the beginning. Why are people bullish on Orlando Magic right now? Is it because they're vets? Is it because they went and made a splash, like brought in 2 or 3 stars? Which I'll be honest with you, I've been guilty of saying, hey, go out there and get me a star too. No. People are bullish on Orlando Magic right now simply because of the players that they drafted to be stars, Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero, and they went and they were able to make one savvy move to be able to bolster that with Desmond Bane. The Pistons should be able to depend on, if healthy, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Asar Thompson, Cade Cunningham. They should be able to depend on these players to not just be kind of serviceable, but to also be your stars and your superstars as it relates to Cade. Your players that maybe can become all-star level, like Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren. You need these guys to get to that level. So saying putting this responsibility on them, is it too much? No, it's time. Cade is on that max deal. Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, what are they going to be doing at the end of the season? They're going to be asking for another deal. So it's like it's time now. Go out there and prove it. What did Cade do before the deal kicked in? He went out there and put up a hell of a season. Hell of a season.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Pistons fans, and we can go on to the next topic because I feel like we just crushed it. The Pistons have been missing a type of coach that expects so much. And I know a lot of Pistons fans like to bring up the 04 years, but that was so long ago. And that culture that Chauncey and Ben and Tayshaun and Rip created, to me, I thought it died a long time ago. And a lot of us were just kind of holding on to it because that's the last great basketball we actually got to witness.
I feel
to
attacked.
me too. JB Bickerstaff has basically given it CPR and it's back to life because he's embodying what those teams, the Bad Boy Pistons, the 04 Pistons, and just kind of putting his twist on, you know, a new age type of Pistons basketball. Like he goes on the Chris Vernon show saying, you know what, we're going into a game and we're trying to kick your ass. Like that's the type of coach that Pistons fans need. Like you need a shit talker. Like I watch every Pistons game on FanDuel. Like you can literally hear JB calling a coach out. He's like, man, that's bullshit. Now you blow your whistle. Like that's what Detroit needs. Detroit needs a coach that is going to get up there. I think he led the NBA in technical fouls for coaches. Like that's how many texts he got last year. Like I love him as a coach because I know he's going to not only fight for our players, the fans are, you know, they love him. And I think what he brought in 1 year, I think a lot of people just casually have bought in. Like I haven't seen LCA that packed like ever, even including Red Wings game. Like LCA was packed.
Man. Bro, my heart. Bro, I got goosebumps. Like Eric Vincent and I, cool. We were like up there in media, and I was like, 3-4 year journey, really putting it in professionally. I've been in media before, so I understand how to handle myself. Nah, not that night. Sitting here watching a playoff game in LCA. That matters, you know, something meaningful. It was different, man. That experience is crazy. Pistons fans are ready. You know, and it was dope to be able to see them get that opportunity. And I hope that they get to see a home win soon. I hope this season provides that first Pistons home win in the playoffs in a very long time. And I do believe they're set up for that. They definitely are. You know, you talk about having that sting now. People wonder what this team is going to be. They just got punched in the mouth. They got punched in the gut. They did. They did. You know, and you got to think about it, man. It hurts more when you lose your big brother. It hurts more when you lose your protector. When Isaiah Stewart went out in that first game, and then you got pieced up from a physicality standpoint after being the aggressor the whole season, you got to think about what that does to you. And so for me, these guys have gone in every offseason and gotten better. And not just every offseason. Every one of these young dudes are coming back from crazy stuff, bro. People make such a big deal about Cade, and rightfully so. Like, hey, here's your bionic leg. We hope it stays in one piece. Hey, that's okay, bro. I'm on a ascent to superstardom. My man, freaking Asar Thompson, had blood clot, bro. Had to miss the first 25 games of the season. This is not like, you know, hey, get better in off season. He didn't really have an opportunity, and he still went out there and looked like an alien. We see what happened with Jaden Ivey, and I'm bullish on what he's going to be, man. Even Jalen Duren and dealing with the issues with his ankles. You see what I'm saying? And these guys are still finding ways to go out there and get better. So as they find their way into the clearing now, you know, we saw Cade Cunningham in the clearing, took off, and he's not coming down anytime soon. I do believe one or two of these young players are going to do that, and that's going to be what helps to bolster this team. And a lot of it is because Trajan Langdon, JB Bickerstaff, they've been able to come in and put the right pieces, the right, front office together, the right coaching staff, the right development staff. You talk about unorthodox. They hired Fred Vincent before they hired a coach. Similar to like the Lions going out there and hiring a head coach before they hired the GM.
Yeah.
It's like, I like what's going on here. And when you talk about how just raw and authentic JB Bickerstaff is, and it's him, you can look back at his other stops and realize this is him. It's not necessarily him coming in and trying to bite Dan Campbell, but I'm telling you, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, yo, he gets me so authentically fired up that's just Black Campbell to me right now. Shout out to JB Bickerstaff. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, but it's real. And he pays homage. He says, no, that grit, I tell my guys, don't be talking about you want the audience and a crowd and the support that the Lions do when y'all don't have the grit that they do. Like, that type of stuff to me is like, well, he told those guys that? Like, golly. But it's real. And it's like, you're trying to teach these dudes to be men and not coddle them to be babies. And now they're in a position to where I do believe that they are going to be able to take that necessary step forward, that necessary leap forward that we saw Franz and these other guys. Like, why are people kind of bullish on the Hawks? It's on their young players. Why can't we be bullish on the Pistons because of these young players too?
Yeah, it's a thing where, like, when I hear national guys talk about the Pistons, the first two players that come out of their mouth are Cade and Nassar, and rightfully so. But I do think people are still kind of sleeping on the Pistons. Some people feel that maybe last year's run was fool's gold. I think they have a very good opportunity to shut a lot of people up this year. I really do.
Bro, when you look at the improvements they made defensively, in the room that they still have to grow in that department, when you look at the fact that Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren, they led the entire league in alley-oop in pick and roll play. You look at just the leaps they made from a facilitation standpoint, pace of play. In Cade Cunningham, it's like, for how many years now, bro, have they been saying, we just want to get his usage down? That's never going to happen. And you know what's crazy? The higher the usage goes, the lower the turnover percentage is gone. That's an interesting thing for Cade. So it's like, you know what? Cade is a guy that I do believe is stepping into, not just prime, but like prime opportunity. These other players and what they're going to have, the opportunities for like an Asar Thompson, the ability for Jalen Duren. You talked about him being more of a hub. I want to see that. I want to see what he has this offseason as it relates to his offense, like 10 feet and in. Is he somebody reliable? Because one thing the Pistons didn't have, other than, and shout out to Brandon Edwards and Matt Shepard, the first player they said, I said, guys, we have anybody on the squad who we can rely on with their back to the basket. Like, that's crazy. Like, do we? The first name they stated was Tobias Harris. And they think that that's the only player. I think sometimes Cade Cunningham. But other than that, like sometimes Isaiah Stewart. But do we have anybody else? Like, and I would love to be able to see Jalen Duren with that reliable 10-foot and in offense be something that's a part of his maturation over this offseason. I would love to see it.
I know he has it in there because I see it I see it at shoot around before games. Like, I know it's in there. My thinking is, like, a lot of times when we see a player in college and they kind of flash a little bit of potential, when they get to the NBA, it's not that the coaching staff doesn't want them to continue to work on it, but they want them to continue to develop a skill set until they feel they're 100% ready to kind of showcase it. Like, no doubt in my mind, Jalen Duren has a good 12, 15-foot jump shot in his arsenal. I think it's there. 100. I mean, he's working with the guard whisperer, who's a very good shooting coach right now. Same coach as Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, when he first came into the league, he wasn't shooting threes. He wasn't backing down people. That's a very good coach to work with. So JD is getting reps with Evan Mobley, working out with Evan Mobley. And what better big to work with than just one defensive player of the year? Like, I think sometimes Pistons fans don't realize, like, a lot of these guys are, posting their workout videos, but you don't really connect who their trainers are, who their clientele is, and who they're actually going up against during the offseason and in the summer. Yeah, like, I know Jalen Duren's already working on his mid-range jump shot. Like I had conversations
Yes,
with the guard whisperer about it. It's like, yeah, we're working on it every day. We're getting threes up. We're doing mid-range, working on the free throws, working on everything. So I know all these guys are working hard during the
yeah,
offseason.
especially in the practices and such too. Just to back that up, like yes, like in the practices for the last few years, being in there, seeing the shoot arounds, the game day shoot arounds, both at the performance center and then over at LCA. Where you're able to see them. He's out there doing this stuff, and he's out there hitting it. The form looks good from three. We post them. I remember people used to get mad like, "Oh my gosh, why is he working on threes?" I'm like, guys, I don't think you understand. The portion of it that we saw are individual workouts, and that's like after 2 to 3 hours of them being in the gym with closed session. We're seeing like the last hour and a half. He's done a lot. He did post ups. He's banging. He's like literally dunking on people, in the layup drill. He's dunking on his coaches. I'm like, bro, man, they're older than you. Like, chill. Like he's showing things in the practice that, sometimes it makes me want to get on the pod and talk reckless, bro. But you're right. I think you said something very, very key, and I hope people don't miss that. Sometimes coaches want to wait until the player is ready. I've known that. Like, I remember I look at just even on our small levels that we played. Like, I play high school and college. Not until you were ready, a coach will put you on that Patrick Ewing energy. Like what? You work on that? You practice that? Who told you to take that shot? Like what? You think you get to? It's like that, and so I do agree with that. Until he is like, that's in your wheelhouse. Probably won't see it in the game, but he is working on it, and it does look good in the practices.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a couple 12 to 15-foot jump shots this year. I think so, because I see him working on it so much. Whether it's you, Eric, or any of the Pistons beat, they're always posting. Man. Yeah, they're always posting him working on those mid-range jump shots. Man, we just went down a rabbit hole, and I absolutely love it. I think that's what makes podcasting so much fun, because you never know what you're going to talk about. Like, I have 6 topics I think Pistons fans might want to listen and talk about, but hey, man, organic conversations to me, I think always go the best. I wanted to get your perspective on the latest Detroit Pistons signing, Javonte Green. So what did you kind of make of this signing with this deal, and do you have any expectations for him?
I don't know. I know that a lot goes on in practice, and I know also that a lot goes on into having the right type of player. And I think you can't have enough of those tough guys, those physical guys, those guys who aren't afraid to get scrappy, those guys who aren't afraid to, if something's going down, people in the league know, straight up, hey, he's one of those guys. And so I don't think that it hurts to have another one of those types of players. And I know, a lot of fans are probably wondering, if you're going to go out there and use another roster spot, maybe you're getting somebody who can aptly play within the rotation of the fours, or you're going out there and you're getting at least trying to your hand at another shooter, or if you think that you need another facilitator, these are some of the things that I know I saw explode across social media, and not just as it relates to this deal, but as it relates to their thoughts on the Pistons offseason overall. But for me, it just in a vacuum was I can understand the Javonte deal.
When the deal came out, because I knew that the Pistons still had a biannual exception, which I was like, I hope it's not a biannual exception. No disrespect to Javonte Green, but I think he could still get some guys out there on a biannual. Maybe it's a veterans minimum, and then Hoopsite reported that it's a partially guaranteed deal. This front office is starting to just give me a lot of Lions vibes, in a sense where they are so crafty with their contracts. Duncan Robinson's contract's only guaranteed for a year, and then it's $2 million for the rest of the 3-year contract. This is a deal to me where by January, if he's still on the roster, they're probably cutting him to save money. My head immediately went to Wendell Moore, because he was a guy on the roster last year that kind of plays a similar position to Javonte Green. Didn't play all the time, but he's a guy that is deep on your bench just in case of injuries or whatever it may be. And he's a guy in practice that I think you look at his position. I think two of the most important players on this team are Ron Holland and Asar Thompson. Why not get a guy that is known for his defense? And I always say iron sharpens iron. So you're going up against Asar Thompson every day. And Javonte Green's going to make him better. He's going to make him a better basketball player. Same with Ron Holland. To me, I think it's just a depth signing, and it's to, make the younger guys better. And you also have another vet in the locker room, which I think, you can never have enough vets in my personal opinion.
Yep. And when you look at it, it's not like you're getting a guy who just didn't play. You look over it, he's gotten some minutes. He's gotten some games. He's played, over 50 games a season, the last couple. And you go back to, he's played over 50 games, 40 games, like most of his career. He's played up over 10 to 20 minutes per game, and he's given pretty much consistently the same 5 points. And I'm giving you some scrappy physical play, and I'm glad that you expanded on it. Like, that's what I was talking about. It's in practices sometimes that some of these types of players make a difference, and not just practice, but the off the court stuff, the veteran stuff. The tutelage, because I didn't even think about necessarily the Ron Holland effect too. So that type of stuff goes a long way. That wing room, they've definitely beefed it up, as it relates to all facets. They have now better facilitation, shooting, and now they have the physicality aspect, which I already thought they had. When you talk about Ron Holland and Asar Thompson, but adding another vet into the mix, it's not a bad thing. It is a guy that, you called it. He's not going to be in your regular rotation, but somebody as a depth piece, somebody when you go into end of the season, your position might be, you kind of know where you're going to land, and you need Cade Cunningham to take some nights off. Isaiah Stewart might need 2 nights off. That's a time when you're going to probably want a player like that. And if not, then like you said, this front office has been so savvy with how they've at least structured the few deals they've made that everything works in their favor, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think some people, like, I'm trying to think who said it, because they're like, was this really worth the Shams Charania ESPN notification? I was like, probably not, but that's like wildly disrespectful because this is an NBA player. You know how some Pistons fans are. Like, a lot of my subscribers, like, I think they're like me. They're very sarcastic, and they can kind of like come off as a dick. But I love you guys. I just call them my subscribers dicks. But like, just like the type of conversations that we have during live streams and like Q&As that I do, man. Like, I remember when I did a podcast about this guy last week. They're like, was this even worth talking about? Like, why did Shams tweet it? He said this was going to be the busiest offseason ever. I can't believe I missed this notification. Like, stuff like that, man.
Dog, I'm sorry, dog, man. That's hilarious to me, man, because I do get it. Pistons fans, I think that they're ready for things to get back to what they were, but it's funny because just as now we have players like excited or at least more intrigued with the thought of coming to play for Detroit, now we got fans like telling these players like, kick rocks, bro. It's like, come on, man, we can't have it those ways. We're a city that used to uplift. I've said this on the shows over at Woodward, man. Bro, we will uplift the most obscure of like just scrappy bench player. We've made a living of that. Like, that's the only reason why I know Mikey Moore. Shout out, we called him Scrappy Dog.
I mean, we were up here talking about Jordan
Moore, bro.
Jordan Bone being a backup point guard. Like, we were down bad, man. We were hyping up like Jordan Bone, like the Sfima Hylukes of the world. Like, we were down bad. Like, no disrespect to Jordan Bone or Sfima Hyluk, but like, I mean, we have actual NBA. Like, you can actually say the Pistons have 14 guys that are legitimate NBA players, not fringe G leaguers. Like, they have actual players, and even their G leaguers, I think, could actually make an NBA roster because they're pretty damn good. Like Donis Jenkins. Yeah.
The last couple of years, Motor City Cruise keeps getting plucked.
Yeah, I mean, we got so many
other
people
NBA
here.
Teams just getting their players in, so I'm just like, they're doing something right.
Got some people I do want to acknowledge. We got Tom. Shout out to Tom, man. One of my favorites out there, man. I don't even know what time it is over there, but I'm assuming it's late. I got Dwayne in here. Shout out to Dwayne.
Hey.
There was Matty Fresh earlier. You didn't have to donate a super chat, but I wanted to give you a shout out as well. Do see your guys' comments. I'm not ignoring you. We do have a couple starred. The white bikes, Ryan, you sicko.
Yeah. Summer League, what? Austin Day and Henry Ellison?
Oh, man. You know what's funny? I got a text from Corey Woods.
Shout out Corey, yeah.
He texts me. He goes,
He's one of the best.
It was over the weekend. He's like, "What's Reggie Jackson doing here right now?" Because I guess he saw him. I was like, "I think he still has a house here." He's like, "Pistons aren't going to sign him." I was like, I don't think so." I said, "I think he still has a house here. Like, you can kind of like pump the brakes, but like just some of the stuff like you text with people."
I don't even know what would happen, bro. Like I feel like this fan base would overreact if we re-signed Reggie Jackson, both good and bad. There's a lot of people who still really, really, really rock with Reggie Jackson, and there's some people who I think associate him with an era that just didn't work out, despite the fact that they paid it to work out. They paid these guys, but it didn't quite go the way that they planned. Man, injuries have been a crazy thing, which is when you're talking about this era, that to me is what makes it so interesting, because these guys have had to claw through so much. It's not just the losing, but they've had to crawl through like some pretty crazy injuries, man. And I do believe they're going to be better for it. And there was something else, man, that you said just before we move on earlier. Under Troy Weaver, they did the restore, and they were trying to build back to what? The bad boys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not bad. But JB Bickerstaff and Trajan Langdon and JB has been very specific about it. It's very, very specific about it, bro. He said, this is about to go on the work Pistons. And he name dropped Chauncey Billups. He name dropped Rip Hamilton. He name dropped Ben Wallace. That type of stuff, it does matter to me, because that is an era of basketball that I do believe is translatable to really any era of basketball. I think the Bad Boys era was translatable to their era. But when you're looking at what this version of the Pistons are doing, they're playing with the same kind of physical edge that told the line without going over it that the going to work team did. And the way that they played with that balanced approach, that's kind of what makes me more excited about what I see right now being built around Cade Cunningham, who I do think can run this team more similarly the way that Chauncey Billups did, but with the ability to score, unlike any Piston we've probably seen here since Jerry Stackhouse.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like all the coaches we've had, all the different regimes, and I was thinking about this. When's the last time Isaiah Thomas has actually given a stamp of approval for a coach? Because he did it during the summer league when he interviewed with JB Bickerstaff. Like, when's the last time the greatest point guard, second greatest point guard in my opinion of all time, is stamped a Detroit Pistons coach? Maybe Larry Brown. Like, all the coaches we've had, and Isaiah's been around, like, he's stamping JB Bickerstaff like it's Detroit first everybody. You get it.
Big. That actually gets me fired up. Actually, when you just put it that way, because I know what I feel. Like, I've had a lot of different coaches, been to camps, been coached by some of these people, like Lindsey Hunter. He was one of my camp coaches when I was younger, and he had Basketball Planet and such. So it's like you get that feel, you get those vibes when you're around those guys who love basketball, and I get that right away. And I got the opportunity to talk to Isaiah Thomas. Shout out to Rob Beard, who actually introduced me to him at LCA, and it was pretty cool interaction. And you instantly, you feel it instantly. I know you've talked to him. That man loves basketball, and Isaiah Thomas knows basketball. It's not just one of those guys who's a good player, and then they start talking, and you're like, okay, he's a funny personality, but he don't really know. No, Isaiah Thomas knows the game of basketball, man. So when he gives a step of approval for a guy like JB Bickerstaff, who, for better or worse, I guess for our good, but temporarily for not so good to his family and such, they got bashed in Cleveland. His coaching style, all of the issues got placed on it at his feet, as if it was like, no, it couldn't be the roster. Well, look at them. And so to have that type of a stamp from a legend like that, like Isaiah Thomas, I think that that's huge, man. Like I wouldn't underrate that at all or underestimate that because of what he was just coming from, where he was getting bashed out in Cleveland and in the greater NBA world because they supposedly what underperformed.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly was thinking, I was like, I have not really seen Isaiah Thomas actually stamp a Detroit Pistons coach probably since Larry Brown. And that was in
Crazy.
2004. We're in 2025. Like, he's been very vocal about the direction in the Pistons in which they were going. I remember someone asked him a question about, what are your thoughts about the Pistons winning 25 games this year? And he was disgusted. He's just like, man, the standard was the playoffs. When I was playing, the standard was
Corey Woods.
yeah. Oh yeah, Corey. My
M
bad.
Shout out.
Yeah, I'm live. Like,
I remember that.
honestly, like the fact that he was just so impressed with JB as a coach, I'm sure probably made his day because to your point, I think he kind of got like, Lions fan know this name like a lot, but I'm not comparing the two. Like JB kind of got the Jim Caldwell experience in Cleveland where, he brings a culture, they start winning, but it's not good enough. Who knows what Kenny Atkinson will do?
Yeah, that's a great analogy, bro.
Who knows? Who really knows? But I mean, like, I feel like he kind of got an unfair shake, and I mean, like, from players like Donovan Mitchell that were kind of behind the scenes, like snakes in the grass type of thing, like smiling to his face thing. But like, you go into the front office and saying we got to get this guy out of here. Ty Jerome, who you mentioned earlier, was bashing JB on social media a couple of years ago. Like, all these players here absolutely love him, and I think it's just the willingness of wanting to get better and never experiencing a 14-win season again. But I was just thinking about that today. I was like, when's the last time like Isaiah has actually praised a coach?
That's huge, man. That's what I know you're gonna get on a Pistons Talk podcast are the details in between the details, man. You always find and pull out just those extra plugs, man, and I think that that's huge because I always thought it was BS that JB Bickerstaff got bashed the way he did and got blamed for everything. When you got a player over there in Donovan Mitchell, I was telling people beforehand, like, I don't believe in what they are. That yes, they're gonna have all of the regular season hype because JB Bickerstaff makes his players run through brick walls. But you got to have a team that has a certain pedigree, man. Like certain players have it. Can Jalen Brunson play that way underneath Thibodeau? Yes. Can the rest of that Knicks team? No. They're not built that way. But you got a young squad here in Detroit that can play that way under JB Bickerstaff in ways that I don't believe Cleveland's players were equipped to. Is there a player that might be able to get better out of Cleveland? Maybe. They didn't find it in year one after JB Bickerstaff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now, not only that, but you got JB Bickerstaff up the freeway, bro, just ready to kick your tail. Like really ready to kick, like literally wants to wipe you out of the central, doesn't care your hype, doesn't care your number one seed, doesn't care if you have a star. He said, hey, my star is better than yours now, bro. One season. Like that to me, it makes a difference. And I like the fact that he carries that edge too. When you talk about Larry Brown, he was able to come here and be able to help these guys understand the edge to carry. Because, it's not like Larry Brown had an edge himself, but he was able to help harness that for those players. But JB Bickerstaff is coming here like, hey, y'all sucked last year and the year before historically. And y'all look at me, they tell me I'm trash too. What we going to do about this? And so now you already got a coach who's already proven to be really good. You got a coach who's going to be able to bring the defensive teaching, because that is very vital. Defenses, if you don't have it instinctually, some of the things you have to be taught it. He brought these types of things to it. And then, you, like I said, you put that chip, that grit on top of it, man. And this team, you've said it several times, and I don't want that to go unnoticed. This team is just, they've bought in. They want to be better. They never want to taste 14 and 17 wins again. And now they got a taste of playoffs. Now they got a taste of All-Star Weekend. Now they got a taste of they got a star on their team. I said, like, for better or worse, like, Malik Beasley, I hope everything works out for you. But for better or worse, I mean, you got K's teammates getting shimmy meal deals, bro. Like that's hey, you know what? But that's what happens. And I want to see this team continue on in that. And I think they will underneath JB Bickerstaff's leadership.
So we'll go to the next topic. I just happened to check my text message from our guy Eric Vincent.
Yes, Scrappy Dog, Mikey Moore, boy.
Shout out to Eric if he's watching, man. That's funny as hell. Love Eric. Hope you're doing well, man. I got him pretty good last podcast. I did the clip with Derek White putting him in the walls of Jericho with Drake being the special guest referee.
Dog, man. Eric Vincent. There's some great people in this space, man. From Cool to Sean to we even got our beat guys like Hunter Patterson, Cody Davis. I don't want to forget nobody. Omari Sankofa.
Yeah.
You know, shout out. I'm forgetting somebody on time. Corey Woods. Yeah. It's Keith Langlois. Yeah, it's been an awesome like journey and awesome time. And to see that none of those guys, like they're supportive. Like everybody's supportive. Like you're one of the most supportive people in this space. Like, and that to me is what I've really been able to experience a lot in this journey is people who just want to make really the Pistons world that much better. And I appreciate it, man. Kuka Hill, he's in that room. Matt Issa, Aaron Johnson, you know, goodness gracious, I'm trying to think because there's a lot of us that we used to kind of bump shoulders and elbows amongst Pistons Twitter, but it's pretty cool to be able to see where people are today in this.
Yeah, even Zarek, like out there taking pictures, like.
Thank you. I know I was like forgetting. There's probably a couple other people I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people in the media room, like the FanDuel people, the beat reporters. Like I've always said, like even like outside of media, like Pistons fans and Pistons Twitter, I'll put it up against any fan base because they're the most supportive, they're the most lively, they're entertaining. There's different parts of Pistons Twitter that I don't like to try to like get into because it just gets like really toxic, but it's fun if you're bored. You just want to screw with people someday. Like,
bro, now let us know if we're wrong too.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, man. I told Eric and Sean last week that this guy wrote me over 15,000 words of what the Pistons should do this offseason. I was like, you got to. Wow. Yeah, I was like, I'm not reading that. I still haven't opened it. But I was like, man, you need to like go apply to Pistons powered clutch points. Because like, if you can write to me like that, that's crazy.
I'm like, bro, I'm about to reassemble some writing teams over at what's the name? So 1,500. That's insane.
That's crazy. I know. Man, I know. I get some really wild DMs. Like probably the most wild DM I ever got was some lady that wanted me to retweet something negative about Tom Gores. I was like, crazy? No. I'm not doing that. Like, no.
Oh, that's insane.
I know. It's honestly like some of the DMs I don't even open anymore, especially like on Instagram. Like it's just like you guys are
it's
nuts.
Like there's stuff I can say, but it's just like I know I can't say it on here.
No, you can say it off camera, but like we're not going to say it out here. We can go to the next topic. I feel like this is something that a lot of people have talked about this summer, and it's Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and their contract extensions. So I kind of want to get your perspective because I've asked a lot of different people, and I think everyone has a different opinion. So what's your opinion on the contract extensions with them?
Man, this is something that we've been saying for a couple of years. At least Rob Beard and I on the Woodward Pistons podcast is, these extensions are looming. The Pistons were going to have an opportunity to make a decision. I believe if Troy Weaver was here, I believe that these guys would already have deals. I do, 100%. And I think these dudes will have much bigger deals than what Trajan, if he would have given them ones right now, what he would have given them. And that's why I think that they don't have them right now. I do believe that this is a pivotal year in which these guys are going to go out there and prove that they are worth at least what, somewhere in the neighborhood of plus or minus maybe 5 or 10 million overall contract value. of what a Jabari Smith got. 5 years, 122 million. The thing is, I believe that he has shown consistently to be somebody that can be, at least as a player, somebody that ceiling can be raised up pretty high. And that's what you want to be able to see out of Jalen Duren and out of Jaden Ivey this year. Not the potential necessarily, but that ceiling can be much higher than where it's at currently. And that's what I believe this year is about, especially when you talk about the contract extensions. And if you're Trajan Langdon in his front office, who's been so savvy with these contracts, and I guess to this point now, very patient with how they're going to handle their business, I believe you just let them play this thing out. They're going to be RFAs. You don't need to bid against yourself if their full value, hasn't quite aligned yet. They might want something else of what they believe they're going to be, because what player isn't going to bet on themselves? What team isn't going to bet on their player? But you want a team that understands how to handle their business correctly. Think about this in the past, man. We've had players go out there and just get the max because that's just what you did, right? That's what you did. You remember the old ways, bro. We can go back to guys like even Andre Drummond. You draft your player. If he makes it to that second contract and he's an all-star type level player, you just give him the max. And now, though, we have a front office who's like, whoa. Can you go out there and what you're going to be about? And I actually love that, because you got a head coach in JB Bickerstaff who I don't think he believes in letting his players even fail. They'll weed themselves out, but ultimately I do believe that both of them are going to be players that earn contracts here. I do. You look at, what's Cam Johnson making? $20 million a year with the Brooklyn Nets right now?
Probably about that.
Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren both deserve, I believe, more than that. If Jaden Ivey was healthy and put up the 17-4-4 or 18-5-5 alone, like, I don't think people understand how good that is in the NBA for a player with his level of athleticism, and he was playing effectively off of whatever was left over on the plate that Cade Cunningham decided to leave. So I don't know. I do believe that they're going to be somewhere competitively in that Jabari Smith 5 for 120, but I think that it's going to be at least 25, 26, if not higher. Jalen Duren is one who I think has opportunity to really push that thing higher. I know that he's looked at as a top tier center now in this league, a top tier front court player in this league, with the opportunity to go even higher if those double numbers can become more robust, and if, like we talked about, he can I think add just a little bit to that offensive game this off season. I think he's the one that has the opportunity to push that contract up a little higher. You talked about it. He's going to have opportunities to push his numbers to stupid levels. If they do more Jalen Duren hub, you're going to be looking at a guy who can realistically average 4 assists per game. That is going to be, I don't think people understand how that looks. If he winds up going out there and getting a block a game, find a way to get a steal, he can easily get four assists a game, and all of a sudden he's putting up hefty double-doubles. That stat line looks ignorant. Like, I'm for a young, promising center going into a second deal, that's a guy who could push that contract up much higher than the Jabari Smith deal, in my opinion.
I honestly think, like, my takeaways this summer, they've been so up and down just because we had no information. Then you get a little bit of a tidbit piece from Keith Smith from Spot Track.
Yeah.
There was an anonymous, I know an Arm Tell 'em quote. When I know an Arm Tell 'em quote, that was an Arm Tell 'em quote saying that they're pretty confident that they can get a deal done with both of these players. I'm under the assumption they get one done, and it's Jalen Duren this summer. Because I think there is no reason for Jaden Ivey to sign one for a couple of reasons. One, I think the offer that the Pistons would give him would probably be insulting, and you don't want to ruin that relationship. And two, he only played 30 games last year, and in those 30 games, it was a really small sample size. And I think Trajan Langdon is the type of general manager or president, whatever you guys want to call him, that he's very careful with what he does. And I think some people have to understand, and I know you said it, if this was Troy Weaver, they would already been extended. But Trajan has not drafted Jalen Duren or Jaden Ivey. he needs a little bit more information. I think he has a pretty good indication of what Jalen Duren is as a basketball player because he is a very durable center, doesn't miss a whole lot of games ever since he got his, ankles all taken care of. But
Yeah.
I think Jalen Duren, I think you were in the ballpark. I think he could get 100. I think he could get 125 easily. If you can get him like around that price point, I think it's actually a steal because if he keeps developing and if his defense kind of catches up with his
29 or
offense,
30 a year for him, bro.
yeah, like
If
if you
that
can get
goes
him,
up.
yeah, if you can get him like 20 to 25, that's a bargain in my opinion. I
I
think with
agree.
Jade, I think with Jaden Ivey though, like it might cost the Pistons a little bit more money if his numbers just like he had 17 last year. Like if he gets up to 20, the 3-point shot is similar or maybe even improved 40%. Pistons might have to kind of splurge a little bit to re-sign him. And I think that's a gamble they're willing to take. They'd love for him to just, improve and, be another number two option. But like, if he's kind of like around the same, like around 17, 18 points a game, it still gives you, pretty good volume from three and, improves as a defender. He could be anywhere from like 26 to 30 personally too. It just depends like what he does this upcoming season. I think the expectations with him, I think, are higher than any other player on this roster right now, just because of the injury.
Are you there, bro? Damn, man. I thought he was cooking too, man. Jeez.
Okay, man, I'm back.
Oh.
Good.
How'd it
Good.
go?
Good Lord. T-Mobile count your freaking days. I swear.
You know what? I can relate.
Bro, like twice this month. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. Like, it's
Hey,
think
man, look, I'm a trooper, bro.
of
And so are you.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I never had this kind of issues with like Comcast or anything like that. But I hate Comcast, so I'll never go back. But I think what I was just saying is I think Jalen Duren will get an extension. And I think Jaden Ivey's they'll just, wait it out until he's a restricted free agent. I don't know what you kind of think about that, but that's just kind of my opinion on the matter.
I can see it. I think, one of them getting one this year. I believe Jalen Duren is the one that you kind of know the double doubles are going to be there. You know how he's going to operate with Kay Cunningham. He's personally taking it, under his own responsibility now. A couple off seasons in a row to be working out strategically. This year you talk about the off-season workouts he's doing with Evan Mobley and his trainer and such. Evan Mobley's trainer. The off-season before you talk about being just wherever he was in Kay Cunningham's pocket last off-season. He's showing that he wants to work. He's showing that he wants to get better, and I think that is a trajectory that you can believe in. When you talk about Andre Drummond, when he got the money, and he even talks about this, the trajectory wasn't quite there. Was there a lot of natural ability and gift that he was able to put on display early on? Yes. But was the ability to work to go beyond that there? No, I don't think it was. And you talking about a player who did in Andre Drummond make an all NBA third team and made all-star just off of his natural just ability and the whatever he was putting in. I know a lot of people say, oh man, that motor wasn't there. Jalen Duren's a guy who this guy works. He is pursuing work. He is pursuing the practice. He's pursuing getting better. And that to me is why I do believe if there is one that will get the extension this offseason, I do believe it will be Jalen Duren. And not that Jaden Ivey doesn't work, because I don't want to disrespect him or put him in some other light. But it's just about the position that Jalen Duren plays too. The premium that comes with having one of those guys. It's not a lot of those types of guys in the league. There's a lot of those kind of tough guys, but they all seem to have some type of limitation from, either wingspan or their athleticism or their height. Jalen Duren is one of those guys who has the total package, and he can take the ball off the rim and push the ball down the court and make the right pass. Like that type of stuff. It's not that he's a unicorn, but these are the skill sets that the guys you call unicorns, these are the skill sets that they have and they put on display very, very, very consistently. So Jalen Duren's a guy who I think if you sign him next year, I believe that you run into a chance that this guy can push that value into the $29-30 million range. If they were willing to pay $20 million for Cam Johnson a few years ago, if they were willing to pay Nick Claxton, $25 million, I believe, they are going to be willing to pay Jalen Duren $29 to $30 million. And that's why I'm just like, man, if you can say, hey, look at this Jabari Smith deal right here. Hey, $25 million a year. I'm with you. I think that's a steal. And Jaden Ivey, I think he has the talent to go out there and earn a big deal. 17-4-4 this past season. Is it really that bit much of a stretch for him to get to 25-5? But when you get to that point as a guard in this league, go see DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. You get paid. You just do. That's what winds up happening when you reach that 25-5 plateau as a kind of athletic ISO guard in the NBA.
Yeah, I think both of them will get taken care of. And I think the Pistons, where they're at, I think they're pretty good financially. I don't really think that they've hard capped themselves whatsoever. I think what you also have to consider is like, obviously you want to get these deals done, but you also have Asar Thompson. He'll be eligible next summer. And his bag, in my opinion, is probably going to be very big. I think he could definitely get in the same kind of conversations as what Jalen Suggs got, 5 for 150.
Like, I would not be surprised if Asar got that type of money. I really wouldn't, especially if he develops any type of outside shot. I think you have to keep a guy like that. But with these contract extensions, I'm not really too worried about it. But I did want to get your just kind of thoughts on it, because I feel like everybody I've talked to has had a different opinion. I had someone come up here and say, "Don't give them either. They haven't proven anything in the league yet." I'm like, okay. So
That's
well,
not
what's
how
it?
NBA contracts go, though.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
not how
like,
they're given out.
yeah, I mean, like, it, you
Marcus
gotta,
Sasser is a sneaky one, though. I know he's up at the end of this season as well. That's gonna be an interesting one to see what they do. I mean, if I had to push a button and you're talking about the money you're about to start doling out, it's a big year for Marcus
yeah,
Sasser. I would definitely
yeah,
not want to see him do well, but it is it's a big year for him. I believe he will have some opportunity. I think he will, but he's gonna have to take like he's gonna have to take ample advantage of it, full advantage.
oh, 100%. I know that I'm probably not the biggest Marcus fan. Marcus Sasser, that's what I'm looking for. I kind of said, like, if you're not going to use him, just trade him last week. And a lot of Sasser's fans came for my head. I'm like, you're kind of wasting his talents.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it. He's a good guy
You
to
stepped on a
have.
landmine, huh?
Oh, I stepped on it and I got hit, and like I'm still recovering from it. I'm like, yeah, it's like I know he's good. He's really good, but like he's not a point guard. He's more of an off-ball guy.
Thank you.
I said, but he's forced to play point guard because you go look at the shooting guard depth chart right now and tell me where
He's
he's going to
not
get
better
minutes.
being forced to play point guard, though. He's just not.
Uh,
He's best when he's able to just play at his own rhythm and pace and facilitate off of that. Not necessarily go out there and run this set. Like, I don't think people understand NBA defenses, man. You're one pick and roll could put a player that's 6'7" on him. And all of a
yeah,
sudden, if you're not able to see over the defense in this NBA, it gets very difficult to run your sets and to know, all right, player X is right here. No, all of a sudden, you're spinning backwards now to try and get away from the pick. And now they're running an even taller player at you. You know why?
yeah,
Because it's what defenses do. Like, I remember my coach, he used to do that. And we used to say, but do you want your big out there on the island? He says, nah, he's double teamed. And they were like, yeah, but you want your guards back there? He was like, look, man, you're going to force more turnovers or bad shots and errant shots and things of that nature. It's like, this is what I see Marcus Sasser. He has the quickness and the ability when they let him just kind of roam and do his thing. But when they put him into just straight point guard mode, it seems like it just takes the luster off of what makes Marcus Sasser appealing. And I don't know. I remember when they said it in Summer League. I was there. His last Summer League. I was there. I talked to him. I say, hey, man, what are you working on? Oh, yeah, you're gonna be trying me at point guard and not point guard, but the responsibilities effectively was like point guard. And I don't know. I don't know what that is or isn't for his development up to this point. But I wish they would just let him be the combo guard. Like, let him be hey, I'm getting the ball after we've swung it 2 or 3 times, 4 times, nothing's there. As soon as it hits my hand on the third or fourth swing around, I know I'm going hard left between the legs, step back 3. Like, that's what it needs to
yeah.
be scripted, just because that's his skill set. I can get into the lane and float. I don't see him do floaters enough. I'm just like, what are we? That's one of the more perplexing, I guess, X's and O's or roster type things for me. And I get it. He's not like this, I don't know how impactful of a player you would call him, but it would be nice if they could figure something out there, because he was a first round pick. That there's talent there. He can be a really good shooter. And I do believe that there is some value as it relates to being a player here on this team for the Pistons too. But you got to figure it out because his contract is due at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, and it's not really his fault. They just brought in a bunch of veterans that are going to get more clock than him. I mean, like
Oh,
his skill set is like you think of like the Jamal Crawfords, you think of like the Lou Williams, the Will Bartons. I think that's his type of role. I'm not comparing him to any of those players, but all of those guys
yeah.
came off the bench and they were looking to score the basketball first. And that's what Sasser is. He's a score first guard. He's going to look to score first and pass second. And I think the coaching staff has it backwards. They want him to pass first and score second. And that's not his game. Like you got to put these players in position to succeed. And I don't really think they've done that so far.
You preaching, man. You preaching it. You know, it's but I when I look at it though, I would love to say, oh man, you know, for the Pistons, it's a first world problem. It's not quite yet. They need some more of these players to pan out. I would say at least one or two of them at minimum. And panning out isn't being what they are right now. I think panning out is knowing we have one or two more all-stars. That's what panning out is. So that you can say, because what path did they take? They said we want to be able to be a homegrown team. That's why they took as many shots in the top of the draft and trading back into the first round as they did. But they traded back into the first round 3 times. 3 separate drafts they picked multiple times in the first round. So it's like, you know, I'm not going to be, you know, that's why I'm not shocked that this thing is, hey, Cade, here's your deal. Hey, Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, we're going to be depending on you guys. JB Bickerstaff said it. Like, look, we're expecting these guys to come in next year and play some pivotal roles. And we hope that Jaden Ivey, you know, he's looking good. He's looking healthy. He's going to be on track. Like, you know, so I want to see these be the guys. And Asar Thompson, too. Like, these are the ones that have to be the guys that step up, are your next line of stars. You know, when people talk about the Golden State Warriors, you know, you look before the KD aspect of this, and this was just a well put together team as it relates to what? Drafting. Those players, they were drafted there. And then they were able to go and pluck a couple good role players like Sean Livingston. You know, they were able to go and pluck a couple like nice role players, put them on this team, and they were able to say, hey, you know what, we got magic.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with the new CBA, you better draft well, because if you don't, like, there's no way of like trying to catch these top tier teams. If you're not drafting well, you're going to be left in the dust. So I have a fun question, kind of a pessimistic question though. Okay. So I want to know, what is your biggest concern this upcoming season with the Pistons?
Size.
Pause.
I know that at the wing position, they feel they've gotten bigger, but I don't know, man. Size to me, I'm not worried about the shooting. I'm not worried about the ball handling. I'm not worried about the facilitation. It is literally the size. After seeing what happened in the playoffs when Stewart went down, it just left something to be desired in the level of physicality that they play with, the rebounds that they were just over their outstretched hands. Did they try hard? Yes. Am I in any way talking about their motor? Nope. They tried very hard. But it became very apparent that, you know, that Tibbs-led team, which it won't be anymore, was they found a way to be just a little bit more, you know, to it as it related to some of those things, man. The more important rebounds, like you think about the games that they lost. They gave up some crucial offensive rebounds, and at the ends of some of those games, I just, golly, I still can't. I still have Karl Anthony Towns as a 3-pointer in my head, bro. Just, golly, like on repeat. But that to me is where I'm just like, you know, I want to see them from a size standpoint, and obviously without sacrificing too much versatility. I want to see them be able to do something. That was something I wanted to see them go into offseason and do, but I think that they're a season away from being able to go and properly address what type of player you put next to a Duren in that front court.
So I have 2. I think size is actually a good one. My first one is turnovers, because I still think they're going to turn the ball over. I don't think it's just going to go away. I still think this is going to be a team that does turn the ball over. I hope it's not, you know, 18, 19, 20 every night, you know, having those uphill battles like I was doing post-game podcasts last year, and a lot of people that are subscribed to this YouTube channel remember I used to call the Pistons the cardiac kids because it'd be the fourth quarter. They're down 8, 3 minutes to go, tie game, and I'm biting my nails. I'm screaming at my TV. It's chest pains. Like turnovers for me is number one. Number two is fouling. Like this was a team that on most nights you're looking first quarter, Jalen Duren's got 2 fouls. He's got to go sit. Isaiah Stewart's got a foul. He's got to go sit.
Man,
Gate had a couple reach-ins. He's got to go sit. Like those are the 2 things that I'm most concerned with this team. I think fouling to me is a discipline thing, which they can work out. I think the turnover situation is just a chemistry thing and, learning where your teammates like to be. And there's some turnovers where they're just like, you kind of scratch your head and you're replaying the replay. You're like, why would you try to make a pass when there's 3-4 guys in a clogged lane right now? But those are the 2 that I'm most concerned with.
bro, them turnovers be like 2K turnovers, like the ones we just like, why did I throw that? That's why I'm just like, they got to get that under control because they undermined themselves last year. Like they were including the offseason. I mean, including the playoffs, where they collapsed. I think they gave up 2 big fourth quarter leads. Like you just think about it, man. You gave up 2 huge fourth quarter leads due to just turnovers and inability to score, as well as having a game in which the referees just completely fell asleep at the wheel on Tim Hardaway's shot. Like that's incredible to me in a series in which you still had an opportunity to try and push this thing to 7, but you cannot cost yourself like that again. You can't, because you know what? A team like that, you won't repeat even the same level of success in the regular season that you had last year. Teams like that are like the Atlanta Hawks, who you just can't quite. For me personally, I can't quite just take them serious. I can't. The people that, oh no, they're going to bounce back this year. I don't believe it. I called their demise last year for some of the same stuff, and I feel like if you're the Pistons, you want to make sure that you avoid that at all costs. I call it the all dysfunction teams. And I do believe that Atlanta is one of it. They don't even know really what they're going to do with Trae Young. Every year, every trade deadline, there are rumors. When it reaches hoops hype, when it's coming from some of the guys that we know, it's just like it's real, man. And so, man, the Pistons are in a good place. They are in a good place overall, but I feel you, man, as it relates to the turnover battle, and then as it relates to the fouls, I think that you're right. Discipline, kind of tutelage, education, knowing where to be. Like there was and stamina. There were some fouls where they were out of place and they looked tired. And they were so gassed that they even looked tired when they were complaining about the foul call. You know what I mean? So it's just there's times where K was like, seriously, that's y'all know me. I love K. Like that's a guy who I do believe is going to be and punctuate that superstar status. But there are times where you just see him even like, and it's just like, really the foul was because you were just out of place. And we know some of those fouls are those anticipation fouls just because you kind of reached and you can say, I didn't touch him. But bro, you really look like you altered something. You're going to get that call. They're going to call that. But when it's the player who looks a little bit more engaged, active, can beat the offensive player to the spot, that's where I do believe that you're going to see less fouls. But I think you're spot on with those. Those are 2 really big concerns that I'm hoping they get figured out because it cost them. It cost them a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, if you clean up the turnovers, like even if you were like 10 a night, that probably improves your overall record at least 3 to 5 games, in my opinion. Like it honestly does if you take care of the basketball. You can't go into games turning over 20 plus times, expecting to win each and every game. Like I remember looking at some box score. I was looking at a box score recently. We turned the ball over 31 times and we still won by 20. And I'm like, nights like that don't happen. They were hot from 3, but like you just have to take care.
Like Charlotte or somebody.
I think Washington. The first time we beat them, and then we played. The schedule was weird. We played them like twice. I believe at home, and we beat them the first time, and then they beat us. And I remember Pistons fans crashing out saying, like, I can't believe we lost to the Wizards. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule last year was so weird. There were really just so many random games that were just like compiled together. It's, I don't know. Whoever makes the schedules is just wild to me sometimes. It just doesn't make sense. So I saw this week, and shout out to Sam Vecini because he got a lot of people really ticked off. He did a redraft of last year, and I wanted to get your overall thoughts on it. You probably saw the redraft. So he had a redraft, and I'm just gonna read it real quick because I have a really bad habit of putting graphics on the screen and not actually reading the graphic to the audio listeners, and they're like, what the hell are you guys talking about? So he did a redraft. He had Stephon Castle 1, Zachary Richardson 2, Jared McCain 3, Reed Shepard 4, Donovan Clingan 5, Matas Pizzella 6, Ron Houghton 7, Zach Edey 8, Jalen Wells 9, and Khalil Ware 10. What do you kind of think of seeing Ron Holland at 7? I was kind of surprised by this.
I am kind of surprised at that, man. Like Jared McCain, I can understand. Reed Shepard, definitely kind of understand. I honestly think Ron Holland sticking in this top 10 when I thought that there was a lot of people who didn't quite believe in him, didn't quite put him on the same era as some of the other, all rookie guys. I actually believe, even though I would have loved to see him stick at his draft slot, I actually think this is a little bit kinder to him than I would have thought it would have been, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys just kind of, because like this graphic is actually kind of misleading because you would think that Zach Edey and Jalen Wells, the teams that were 8-9 respectively, the Grizzlies didn't have back-to-back picks in this draft, but the way the Athletic did it's kind of confusing. But kind of looking at Ron, I still think he probably goes top 5 in a redraft. And the reason why I say that is you look at a lot of the players that were drafted in the top 10.
Yeah.
Ron Holland.
For the record, I would put him ahead of Modest Bazelis, but that's just me. And maybe Donovan Clingan. I guess.
I'll tell you this. I would put him ahead of Reed Shepard. Reed Shepard to me is up. I watched Donis Jenkins just lock this guy up. He did not want to be on the court. I don't understand the fascination with Reed Shepard. I think he's very overrated personally. I don't even think he wouldn't even probably be in a top 10 if I did a redraft right now.
I don't think that Ron Holland played that game. I was down there. Ron Holland didn't even play that game. And I remember that Dennis Jenkins went off. And who else went off? Was it Bobby Clintman?
I think Bobby went off against the Miami Heat. I think
that might have been the Dennis game then. And Marcus Sasser, for some reason, I don't remember.
Yeah, so they played the Rockets really early in the summer league, but
yeah,
I'm surprised Ron actually slips in a redraft. The Stephon Castle thing, like I get it, I can understand it. I was more surprised that Alex Sarr actually kind of dropped out of this whole redraft. Like you don't even have him as a top 10 pick, and he was a number 2 pick to the Washington Wizards. I get the Wizards are terrible. I get Alex Sarr looked really lost out there, but I'd probably looked lost out there if I had to be on the court with Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole at the same time trying to get my shots up. So I don't know, man. I was just really surprised. Like I don't mind doing redrafts. I know ESPN did one recently where a lot of Pistons fans crashed out over it as well. But I feel like redrafts always piss a certain part of the fan base off.
Oh yeah, it's always going to leave somebody feeling like somebody feeling vindicated and somebody feeling pissed off. And I believe that this sets up for Ron Holland to be able to, change the trajectory of this. That's why I said I think this, at least from my perspective, I would assume that they would have just potentially dropped him off the list because he wasn't one of those heralded rookies. But for him to still be here at number 7. Are there players I would move him ahead of? Yes. But understanding how national media kind of looks at and views this landscape and the Pistons, who they probably don't really pay a whole lot of attention to, That's why I say, you know what? Okay, I'll take you, but I'll raise you this, that he's going to be a guy that's going to force you to put him in the top 5 for years to come from this draft class. I 100% believe so. I don't believe that there's just one clear cut star, superstar, stud, like this is just the guy and everybody else is underneath. Are there really, really good players? There are. I really like what Stephon Castle brought to the table. I really did. I like what Zachary Sachet could be, but I also know that Zachary Sachet was playing in a situation that had some pretty good vets and some pretty good players around him. You know, I liked what Jared McCain was showing. He's the one that I'm just kind of like, yo, I just want to see. I want to see it for another year, see him healthy and whatnot. Reed Shepard, Donovan Clingan, Modest Buzelis, like all of those players, but are those players that are better than Ron Holland? Who, and I said this on the draft profile for him, man. I was one of those guys who wanted Dalton Connect. But when we got into talking about who Ron Holland was, it was like, all right, look, he was number 9 on my draft big board, and these are the reasons why. He has everything else that you want in an NBA player's game except for the outside shooting. He's got everything inside the arc. He was a really good player. Over 50% at the rim, I believe 50% or like 46 to 50% inside the arc on high volume, like 14 shots inside the arc at the G League level. So he's already within NBA terminology. He was already playing against, within NBA sets against NBA level talent, if not NBA talent. He was already doing this stuff with some of these guys that he was coming into the league with, like a Modest Buzelis, who played with him at the G League night. And so I looked at everything about his game and I realized this guy, everything that we saw when he came here and he finished in the paint well, could take the ball coast to coast, was going to come here and play defense and be gritty. All that translated. It really translated for him in year one. And that to me is where I believe he's just kind of scratching the surface. And so when I say this is kind of surprising or more promising to me, I look at this more as someone pulling a rubber band back. So he's not going to be back for long. I do believe Ron Holland is somebody who, if you do the same thing next year, you're going to be moving them ahead of some of these players that they have currently.
Yeah, my only thing with redrafts is like give it a few years. I think doing a redraft in 24 when a lot of these guys haven't even scratched the surface. Some of these guys are on playoff teams, so they don't actually get to play a whole lot of minutes. Like you could argue out of the top 5 picks, like Ron Holland and Reed Shepard were the 2 picks that Reed Shepard, I shouldn't even say, because Reed Shepard barely got playing time. He was tearing it up in the G League. But Ron Holland immediately, wasn't in the starting lineup. He never was in the starting lineup unless it was like garbage time. He has I think, a really interesting, pathway to, future stardom if he can just kind of develop a jump shot, get better at slowing down. I just kind of look at this draft class, and there's some guys that wouldn't surprise me if you see a Matas Buzelis, a Ron Holland, or even a Jared McCain, for that matter, to be future all-stars. I really don't. Like I think this draft class, it's not like star-studded, but there will be some guys I honestly think that we could see in all-star games in the near future, in my personal opinion.
I agree with that, man. I do. I 100% agree with that. And it's going to be interesting with Ron Holland because he's a guy that's not focused or fixated on making those teams.
Yeah.
I got to talk to his pop, shout out to Papa Holland, man. And it was after the, all rookie teams were announced. I said, bro, man, I was really hoping that he was going to be a part of, the rising stars and all of that type of stuff. He said, man, we don't care about that. Man, all he cares about is what JB Bickerstaff is asking him to do and helping his team make the playoffs. That's it. So from a mentality standpoint, every time I've gotten to talk to Ron Holland myself, press conferences, we got to go out to the camp last year. Remember the Pistons did their camps. Ron Holland was out at one. I think Czar was out there as well. And we got to talk to him and ask him some questions and such. I was like, yo, I get it. Players are supposed to say certain things, but this guy is like, he sounded like a vet. Like, and you got the sense early on when you saw him play that this was more or less who he is and not just something that somebody told him, oh, you're in Detroit, so use these code words. I was like, no, instantly you realize this dude was scrap with you, bro. Like he's tough, he's physical, he's scrappy. He has game, he's not just like a hustle player. And I think sometimes that might be where he gets a little underrated or not looked at the right ways, because I think people want to pigeonhole him into that kind of bench hustle, super hustle player. It's like, nah, this guy has some talent to be something a little bit more than that. He can score in volumes, and a large part of it has to do with the unorthodox aspect of his game. Like, what is his actual go-to?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? He
yeah.
can kind of just, if it's transition, not that he's going out there and saying you can't guard me, but you'll see him at the top of the key, pivot to the left, like jab to the left, and then just whoops right around to the right, and I'm in the lane. And it's, I don't even know if they're calling the plays for him. He's just kind of just playing off of his own natural instinct, utilizing the handles, utilizing the speed, utilizing the athleticism. And I do believe as he continues to mature and get, um, learns to slow down just a little bit, I believe we're going to see a full-on maturation of borderline all-star Ron Holland to what you're calling all-star, what he could potentially make one day.
Yeah, I know some people are asking in the chat, like, what is Ron's archetype, like player wise? I see people are saying Jimmy Butler. I've also seen some people say Jaylen Brown, his favorite player he grew up idolizing. I think you guys are in the right ballpark. I think he has a long way to go to get to Jaylen Brown type of levels. But I mean, if you want to pull up their rookie numbers, they're damn near identical. They're damn near identical.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I like those archetypes. And sometimes I think when you're talking Asar and Ron, I often think about another person who had Ron in his name, Metta World Peace, Ron Artest. You talk about the type of player he was, the style of game he had, what was his go-to move. It wasn't that he was going to go out there and sauce you, but Ron was a guy who was going to get you your consistent 15, and he was going to be scrappy, be your best defensive player. And if you're not paying attention, was going to pop you for 21 and 30 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you just kind of look at just kind of the outside, just the outline of what Ron Artest, Ron Holland's game is, I see some of that type of stuff in him. Like some of these other players that I've heard the chat mention too. It's like, you know what? I think that's part of the archetype, and ultimately it's going to continue to depend on him choosing to put in the work offensively and choosing to stay committed on the defensive side of things too. Still being a guy to hustle. And I will always crack up at him basically telling Jordan Clarkson to put the Dukes up, bro. Like, hey, let's go. I'm like, I will always love that, man.
Bro, he was fighting Royce O'Neal first preseason game. Wouldn't let go of the ball. I'm like,
bro.
I'm just like, man, this dude's different. This dude is different. Like, this is funny. You said something earlier, and it's just like a lot of people are labeling him as a hustle guy. I honestly think, like, when you look at this team, having versatile wings like a Asar and a Ron, like those two could be your 3 and 4 of the future, like long term. Like if you're talking long term, or maybe Ron is more of a 2 and you have Asar at the 3. Like I think those two are so important to this team because they have the defensive ability that you want on the court. It's just can Fred Vincent unlock them offensively? And I'll just say, man, Ron Holland looked damn good in the summer league. That shot was cash. I was like, man.
You know what? And it was the movement. It was the confidence. And these are things that I remember we were talking about it when we were talking about Ron Holland and what he could be in the NBA despite him not having that three-point shot. And it was all for me, again, just about who he was going to be as a worker and who he was going to be ultimately as a, as it relates to listening to what the organization is saying. You know what I mean? And he just seems like a sponge. He's just come here and that's his thing. Look, I know I can play defense. That's what everybody wants of me. And beyond that, it's just about going out there and, effectively trying to add to my game without subtracting from the team. Like we talked about, not going out there and just doing stuff because you've worked on it, but making sure that you or somebody can contribute to the squad. Otherwise, you're going to go out there and start putting up your 0 for 2s, 0 for 3s. You can't just shoot every shot that you feel like you're open on, even if you are wide open. And you can see, like, the more experienced players, sometimes when they get the ball in those situations and, they understand how to kind of get to their spots. But when the young players are, I'm open for 3, it's like, shoot it. It's like, I saw Rahan as the season went on do things like be able to hit the gap. Because you know what a lot of people think when they're open? Shoot or find a way to shoot. I saw him as the season went on be able to actually, okay, I got the ball here. Something might not be falling. If I step up a dribble or two, some other defender has to respond or react to me. And I saw him start to make those types of changes and that type of growth in his game. And so it's like when you see a player, confidently having improvement during the season, I believe in what we saw out of the offseason, out of the summer league. I believe in that. I believe we're going to see a guy who's shooting the ball a little bit more comfortably from behind the arc than we did this past season in Ron Holland. I really do.
Yeah, same here. I have one more topic, and it's a really broad topic. So I think we'll both have different answers. So I've been thinking about it and looking at this core, looking at the landscape of the East. I want to ask you, how far away do you think the Pistons are from being contenders in the East?
In the East? All right. So accounting for Kool-Aid and adding an extra year, 2 years away.
Okay. So 2027.
Not this season, but the season after.
Okay.
I do. I believe that they're going to be in a position in the East. That's the natural progression. If you're talking about this season, wanting to see them host a playoff series in the first round, I believe the natural progression after that is being a contender in the Eastern Conference. I'm giving them a couple years this season, and then starting the season after, being one of those teams that are talked about as being a contender.
So I think we're under the same thought process. I don't think it'll be this year. I do think they will be improved. I do think they'll be competitive. I think they have a chance to be a top 4, top 5 seed. But I think what is probably going to happen is Trajan has more information. He has first round picks that he can dangle. And I think by 2027, they're going to make a splash for whatever they need, whether that's maybe it's more shooting guard play. Maybe it's a power forward that can really come in and just help them stretch the floor. Maybe Tobias Harris kind of takes that Al Horford role and he's off your bench. Wishful thinking, but hey, you never know. I think it's going to be 27. I do think they will make adjustments to this roster. I just don't really think it's right now. If it was right now, they would have tried to make a Desmond Bane trade this past summer to try to keep up with Orlando. What Trajan is kind of telling Pistons fans without actually telling Pistons fans, saying like, hey, that's cool. Orlando can do that if they want. We'll still be contenders in the East with them. We'll still be a top seeded team in the East. I'll make my move when I have a little bit more information on these players that I didn't draft. And then I'll push some of my blue chips on the table to try to get maybe a 30, 40, $50 million player. Because I think what you also have to look at is when we were coming up here and talking about the Lauri Markkanens, the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s, they were all on rookie deals. We didn't have any stackable contracts. We didn't have anyone on large deals. Now you have several players that are on larger deals. Like you could stack just, hypothetically, like Duncan Robinson, Isaiah Stewart, that's 30 million. Like you have so many contracts now that you can stack to get to those players that are in the 30, 40, even 50 million threshold now. And I think that's really exciting for Pistons fans because I know they're thinking, man, when are we going to make that big splash? When are we going to just say, you know what? Our time is now. We're going to go compete with the Knicks, the Cavs, and whoever's in the, top seeded teams in the East. But I think it will be next season if I did have to guess.
Yeah. I like a lot of what you're saying, man. And I believe that you're spot on there. They're going to have the opportunity to go and really present themselves to the league this year, in my opinion, too. Present themselves to disgruntled stars, present themselves to the future free agents, present themselves to the restricted free agents that are coming available, so that when you're going into spending that money, you're already at the top of people's minds. So you're playing for a lot this year. Do you want to play to see if you can become a contender this year? Yes. I am not by any means saying that they can't be. It's just if I had to state what I believe they are going to be, it's going to be 4 seed at their peak, at their best, finishing the season. And I believe that the natural floor should be no lower than what you had last year. Playoffs, top 6, and keep it pushing. But would I be surprised if they found a way to become a top 3 seed next year? I wouldn't be surprised. Not at all. I just think that they're going to be better equipped in the East if they can add somebody else. And that's what I've been saying too. As much as they were going to have the opportunity, and I said this coming into the offseason, before it started, as much as they were going to have opportunity to play in this offseason, their best bet, based on how the books are aligning and based on the value of their young players, their best bet was to actually wait another offseason, which I told the people, though we're going to have fun on our offseason coverage, understand I do believe Trajan Langdon is going to wait until next offseason before he gets busy, because that's when you get to lock in effectively Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, and or neither. Hopefully it's both.
This team reminds me a lot of the 2002-03 Pistons, like right before they kind of just popped off, and they're kind of being a NBA Finals team. I feel like the pieces are starting to gel, and you're starting to see like what you could build around Cade. I think they're a lot closer than people maybe want to have the conversation about. I don't really think that far. They're that far away from one being competitive in the East, but being a top dog in the East. And like it wouldn't surprise me this year if they won their first, playoff series and they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I think they have the talent to do it personally.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. And I know some people talk about, well, if they do it, it'd be because of injuries or because the East is open and blah, blah, blah. I think it's exactly what you just stated. It's the talent. And that's I think that's the wild card there. Who is Asar Thompson for a full off season and to be able to start the year with the Pistons? This off season is the one, it's the one where they're going to have the opportunity to start with all their young players healthy. Knock on wood. But that's what they get the opportunity to do. Would you rather it be Jaden Ivey not coming back from a gruesome leg injury? Sure. But how many games did he play last year? 17. Clean break, and they repaired. Right across what? The shin? Mm-hmm. Same thing with Cade Cunningham. Did he break his leg? No, but he had those fractures in there. They're able to go, put the rod in there for his leg to reinforce it, and you look, the guy came back healthy. The guy came back and put up a crazy season. So that's where I'm like, you know what? If these young players take any type of a marginal leap, like, bro, if they just run it back, if the young players just run it back and the vets can hit their threes, this team could easily be a top 6 team again. But if these young players get even marginally better, like our top 3 or 4 young players, not named Cade, get marginally better, I'm not even calling for great leaps. This team becomes that much better. It wouldn't be a surprise if they were contenders in this upcoming season, though I'm still saying that they're going to be 2 seasons away, that 2027 year.
Yeah, I mean, so it wouldn't surprise me if they just popped off this year and they were just, again, a top-seeded team in the East. I think they'll have a little bit more attention and eyes on them. Because last year, no one saw that coming.
Oh, yeah.
They'll know this year, like, okay, the Pistons, they're for real. They're way more physical.
Physicality, they'll know.
Yeah, like Cam Johnson said it on a podcast with I can't remember who it was, but he was saying, it's like, yeah, it's like when you went into Detroit, he's just like, you knew it was going to be an easy win. He's like, this year, he's like, man, they were so physical. He's just like, I had like to ice my legs like twice because I was just sore after that game. So I mean, players around the league are starting to like take notice of the physicality with JB and the Detroit Pistons. But I'm very excited with this future and what they can become because I know how fast a championship team can just come together like that. I mean, we've seen it growing up, like how fast the Golden to Work Pistons were put together. It can just happen in like a 12 to 18 month period.
You know what? I agree with that, and I believe that sometimes we don't believe that we deserve or can have it nice. Nice things here in Detroit, but we always have to have things, that we've gotten out the mud and out the dirt. And I say this, caution this. Kay Cunningham, superstar status. Asar Thompson, he was at Rising Stars weekend as well. JB Bickerstaff is a guy who did deserve, in my opinion, Coach of the Year, but was rightfully at least in the conversation. Trajan Langdon, rightfully in the conversation as Executive of the Year. This team is in such a good position. Think about it. These are the positions that you want to hear, that you got studs that are in the runnings for top awards in your league. It's your general manager, it's your president of basketball operation, it's your head coach, and it's your star player or players. The Pistons have that right now.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if Sarr would have played, he probably would have made a defensive team. Isaiah Stewart didn't get hosed with the awards this year. He probably would have made a defensive team.
yeah, all he needed was like 0.3 minutes more per game, and he would have made a defensive team.
I know the players voted on it, but you have to play 20 minutes a game. Isaiah
Yeah.
Stewart finished the year with 19.9.
So he's 0.1. Oh my gosh, I remember that. Guys, I was going to ask JB Bickerstaff that question at the start of playoffs, bro. Like, you managed his minutes so well, and his efficiency jumped through the roof. Are you finally ready to unleash him in the playoffs? And he said, "We'll see. You're gonna see." But then the first game, like, that was what was so tough, man. Like, I think that they were ready to see Isaiah Stewart be even that much better than we had come to really love over that past season.
Yeah, I mean, Stu's one of those players where, like, he might not be flashy in the regular season, but he is such a playoff competitor. Like, if he was even 70% healthy, I honestly think they probably beat the Knicks in the first round. Like, Cat wasn't going to be able to pop off like that. He would have probably kept Mitchell Robinson in check. Like, they probably would have won that series. And I think the Knicks know that too.
Man,
I know.
Goodness gracious. Can we start the season? Like, goodness,
Right.
get back to it.
Well, I've almost had you on for 2 hours, give or take. I don't know how long my internet was out for, but if you guys have been on here for the full 2 hours, I appreciate it. What I like to do anytime I do have a guest on is plug, promote, where people can follow you, whatever you're working on these days. Floor is yours for people that are watching live right now.
Oh, dope. Hey, I was on Wake Up Woodward at Woodward Sports. Now I'm on the Brandon Edwards show with Shep. That is Matt Shepard. 2 to 4 on Woodward Sports, man. Make sure you guys tap in, plug in, and make sure you support as well. But other than that, Woodward Pistons. With some of the restructuring and the change at Woodward Sports, had to take the month off from Woodward Pistons. So I got some production roles. That's what I'm doing over with the Brandon show, and it's been fun. But this is going to be my kickoff, getting back into it. I know Sean Murphy and I have been talking about stuff. I owe a call to to a couple other people. And content's going to get rolling again at Woodward Pistons. But ultimately, you guys see it right there at Detroit Kool-Aid on Twitter, on Instagram. Going to be doing some Detroit Kool-Aid stuff on YouTube, but primarily at Woodward Pistons on YouTube as well. So Rob Beard and I, we should be getting things going again in about another week or two. But ultimately, hoping to continue to collaborate with the rest of the community, especially my guys. You're one of those guys too, Anthony. So shout out and thank you to you, man, for the invite tonight.
Oh, for sure, man. Like I try to invite everyone on into the community. I mean, like I've offered. I feel like everyone, like any shape, way, shape, or form. Like I had, I don't know if you have ever met Mikey. Mikey Talks Pistons. He's like
I
16-year-old
haven't
kid.
met
So, he he like reached out to me one time. I was like, "Hey man, come on the show." And he came on the show for about an hour. And like, this kid's 16 years old. He's up here talking Pistons with me, and he killed it. He crushed it. I'm like, we have so many cool content
him.
creators in just I think in the space in general. So I like to just invite people on. If I'm scrolling on YouTube, like I reached out to a friend of mine, Pistons Jacob. He's another Pistons content creator. Came on, had him on twice. Every time I have mine, it's always a lot of fun. It's just so cool getting to know the people, like when we're doing these interviews and asking questions or go down rabbit holes like we did today. Like
Yeah.
we talked about a lot of stuff that like I didn't even honestly think we were going to talk about, but that's how conversations go. But I appreciate you coming on for this last hour and 54 minutes. So if you guys could, on your way out, definitely hit that like button. If I want you guys to go in the description below, we have all your social media links so they can go follow you directly, so they don't have to type it out. It's in the description below if you're watching live on YouTube. But we will see you guys probably, maybe I'll do 2 or 3 podcasts this week. I don't know if I can find content. You guys know I like to do like a little 20-30 minute podcast with you guys, keep you guys informed. But we will see you guys more this week. Until next time, go Pistons. Peace.
Hey, go Pistons.